Hey, Collide, welcome back. Guess who's back? Back again. The gang is back together.
We are so back.
And we even got Studio One.
We got Studio One. And
I mean, I've been gone for 6+ months. Where the hell, how much money did you guys raise and throw into studios? This is freaking amazing.
this is all Jacob. Team Jacob, man. This is all his decor. Although I'm bummed out that the Earl Campbell, Willie Nelson photo I got, and Jacob, maybe you can throw that up on the so people can see it. It's in Studio 2. It didn't make Studio 1.
To my lifetime hero.
Yeah. But anyway.
My original all-time greatest Wildcatter movie art, when I saw Black Gold, how can you not have Giant?
Yeah, good point,
It
man.
made it into Studio 2, or is it A and B?
Oh, here it comes.
There we go.
There it is.
There it is.
Harold's.
That's so
How
good.
How cool is that?
Now, what's so funny is I've seen Willie Nelson live at the first time I ever saw him in person. I was a kid at the Broken Spoke.
Really?
Nice.
Dude, I talk about I could have touched him back then.
First time I ever saw Willie Nelson, Fort Bend County Fairgrounds, playing the Fort Bend County Fair. I believe it was the year after George Strait played the Fort Bend County Fair.
First time I saw Willie Nelson, I was a young adult. Amazingly, I'd listened to Willie Nelson growing up. It was at Flores Country Store in Helotes.
Flores, man, great
wow.
venue, by the way.
And
Awesome venue.
And that patio dance floor went right up against the stage.
And the thing I love, he opened and closed with Whiskey River.
Absolutely.
Whiskey River, take my mind. All right, so go ahead, Mark.
Where you been?
I mean, whirlwind. I've been in Nantucket fighting the good fight up there. We're losing the battle, by the way.
No way.
There's nothing worse than seeing offshore wind and you can see it from the golf course. And when I'm surfing, it's behind me usually. What a fucking nightmare. I mean, as energy guys, not only is it so fucking expensive and will never pay for itself, but then you have the eyesore. And then you're killing the whales. And
And the birds.
a big whale just rolled up on Nantucket shores. It was dragged out for about $35,000 to sea to be sunk. But
The sea was angry that day, my friend.
The sea was angry. Back from
Like an old man
Nantucket.
trying to return his soup at a deli.
Now I know why they call you snowbirds, because it gets cold up there.
Yeah, I got it.
It's good to be back in Texas.
How's the accent? Is the accent coming around? Can you park a car at Harvard?
People in Nantucket don't really do that. I think
Really?
they wear ascots, and I think the ascot must muffle the
Muscle the
accent.
accent. It's not Boston.
Does your ascot do the same?
It does.
Nice.
Touche.
So any update on?
Oh, the update is we're moving to Dallas.
Big D.
So
the city of hate.
So
The city of dead presidents.
When a Longhorn, by the way, Earl Campbell, one of his famous photos is an Oiler after he scored a touchdown. He's doing this. So I'm like, you don't have to do this. You definitely don't do this.
Right.
But you can do this. I married an SMU girl. What do you do? She loves Dallas. So
I think our bet was I'm wearing subtle Aggie gear today, but I think at some point I've got to put on the burnt orange.
yeah, that's right, because we won. But I'm pulling for the Aggies in the tournament, in the playoffs. I'm pulling for them.
Well, they got an unfortunate seed, 7 instead of 6 or 5, and they have an 11 a.m. slot.
Hey, let's just say, and I know all the Longhorns please go ahead and text me your hate, but I like Elko because at least he has some fire in his belly. You know what Sark told his guys after the win? And every loss,
And what a belly it is.
he always talks about, hey guys, I'm going to buy you a snow cone. It's okay. It's hard playing in the SEC. I mean, no wonder we didn't make the playoff.
But you had a good point, and we were texting game day during the game, and you said when it was all done, and I trust this instinct because you just felt it coming. And I guess somewhat subconsciously I did too. Maybe you spent your burst of energy clawing back against South Carolina. But what do rivalry games mean?
I mean, when you have a team undefeated on a huge high, and you go into your rival who you haven't really seen in how long has it been?
They resumed last year, but
yeah, but you haven't really seen in a long time. You know, it's like bonfires, a distant memory in most kids. They don't even know what it is anymore. So you walk into Austin and everyone's telling you about this rivalry that was famous. You don't really know anything about it. So your expectations totally change. They change from just an okay SEC team to, oh, it's a big rivalry. We probably could lose. I mean, we just put doubt. It just put doubt in the Aggies. And then the Longhorns have nothing to lose. Arch is getting, his feet under him.
And coming back for another year.
Making millions.
As he should.
I
will say this. I'm a Del Conte fan. Your athletic director.
Well, he spent some time over in your neck of the woods.
He was. He got his first AD job at Rice. And my favorite Del Conte story that I've probably already told on this, but oh well, I'm rolling. Chris calls me one day and says, Chuck, man, I really need a big donation this year. Gosh, fiscal year ends in 5 days. The administration's going to come after the athletic department if we don't make our numbers. I'm way behind. I really need your help. And I went, Chris, this is how this is going to go down. You're going to say a number and I'm going to say yes or no. Don't get too greedy because I will say no. So just bid accordingly. And to his credit, Chris goes, all right, X. And it was a painful number, but I went, all right, Chris, I'll do that. But I need one favor. And this is kind of pre the change in the rules. So the way you were able to go eat dinner and hang out with the players and it be legit is if they had your scholarship. Then you were their sponsor.
Oh, yeah.
You could do a couple of dinners a year and that sort of stuff. I said, all right, I need Anthony Rendon to be my scholar athlete. And Del Conte goes, all right, I got you, Chuck. Great. So about 2 weeks later, I'm at dinner with Rendon and we're sitting there talking. And Rendon's a great guy. Love Rendon. And we're sitting there talking.
How much gold did you have on at that dinner?
At the dinner? How much bling? I'm not sure. That may have been really blingy, Chuck. But I don't know. So anyway, I'm sitting there with Rendon and kind of in the middle of dinner, Rendon casually mentions, yeah, man, I'm pretty tired. This is the 12th dinner that Del Conte's had me do in the last 2 weeks. I called Del Conte on the way home. I'm like, you son of a bitch. And you said, you didn't say exclusive, Chuck. And I said, well played, Chris.
Dude, by the way, when I've been called a carpetbagger because I left Houston to go to the University of Texas and stayed in Austin until 2010, came back. So fuck you to all of those people that call me carpetbagger, but whatever. I came back to Houston as a huge pro Rice fan. I love Rice. It's the great community university here in Houston, but my allegiance has changed.
Uh-oh.
And I want to shout out to Trey Wilkinson, who had a knee replacement on Monday, who is president of the Alumni Association for the University of Houston Cougars.
Oh, that's a stab in the heart.
No, a buddy of mine went to Georgia Tech. So he lives in Houston. We grew up together. He has season tickets for the UH basketball team. And damn it, dude. He asked me, he's like, do you want to go? I was like, I have nothing better to do. Let's do it. What a fucking great time.
Yeah. Samson's done an amazing job.
Dude,
with that program.
What a great time.
Samson and Fertitta have done a really nice job.
If I wasn't moving to, and I checked season tickets for SMU, because like now I'm an SMU fan, but I'm like, U of H, I'm inspired by that team.
Yeah.
Well, it harkens back to our being enamored with U of H back as a young man when Phi Slamma Jamma was on its run.
Well, yeah, But
there was nothing like that. In fact, I was at A&M. I think Olajuwon's.
Dude, Ralph Sampson, Olajuwon.
We would go to G. Raleigh White Coliseum, which was just an absolute barn.
Did you go see Phi Slamma Jamma?
Yeah. Yeah. And
Rice had Ricky Pierce, who wound up being sixth man of the year a couple of times in the NBA. And those were some duels at Hoffines and at
Do you remember
Autry
the
Court.
days, though? This is non-existent. I had Trey. So Trey, who used to keep score for the Rockets, and I mean, he's a really successful business guy that loves being scorekeeper and being involved. He's like, that player is only going to be here for 1 year, and that player is probably going to leave after this year too. What's up with freshmen going and playing basketball and then leaving for the NBA? When did that start happening?
Oh, that's been forever. That's the
forever?
Calipari. That's the Calipari model that he
the one
pioneered
and done. Yeah.
at Kentucky. He basically said, "I'm just going to get the most talent I can, and each year will be a new adventure."
Yeah, and it was a response to, okay, NBA is not going to draft out of high school.
Yeah.
So it's just 1 year, one and
Because it
done.
used to be
Yeah,
you
it's
were
one and
eight,
done.
you so long as you were 18, you could get drafted, and you had Kevin Garnett and those type guys.
Son, there is no draft anymore.
Yeah,
There was one?
there was one.
There was one.
But then they changed the rule of you had to be, I think, 19 or 20 and play at least 1 year in college. So that kind of morphed that.
This is great. A BDE where maybe an energy podcast will come out of it. But right now, this is so much fun.
Yeah, there
Good to see you boys.
Good to see you as well. You want to kick us off about Ford or?
Yeah, I guess it's the auto industry version of BP,
Yeah.
which we'll talk about here again in a minute. But pretty big splashy news, $19.5 billion impairment. EV division, which we've been talking about, they were the only one of I believe the big three that would actually in their reporting break out their EV division. Well, losses to date are $13 billion and counting. And so, this is a big, I think, massive reality check that we have been talking about for some time. Naturally, there's a pivot pretty hard back to focus on what makes money, which is your ICE vehicles. The unit projections, you can go back to Toyota with the introduction of the Prius back in the mid 2000s, and that projections of capture of, 5 to 10% of total U.S. auto market, stalls out. This is even more, I think, more of a hurdle. So,
Well, they gave it a fair chance on performance. It's like, hey, here's our truck. We're going to make an electric version of it. Market, go decide.
yeah.
And the market was pretty significantly.
It decided.
My own personal opinion is what they missed for F-150 buyers, which is their flagship vehicle and has been for 40 years. That profile is, I think, somewhat disconnected from an EV aficionado, right?
Absolutely.
Especially if you're actually using the truck. I do believe that most F-150s, especially Platinums, are just.
But let's pick on our
just SUVs
CEO
with a bed.
here. Didn't Colin want one of those, or didn't he want a Lightning?
Early on, yeah, but and he's been an advocate for his Tesla experience and full self-driving. Although he did tweet out the other day that he was complaining, I think, about version 14 of FSD had all kinds of problems. Why did we have to upgrade? I don't remember exactly the verbatim language, but Colin has been nothing but positive on his Tesla experience. I think part of it is the irony of an oil boy driving an EV, but yeah, it's been a good experience for him. And, good on Ford for finally throwing in the towel. I don't know if they've thrown in the towel. I guess they'll still have, some allocation of people and resources and it probably shifts more to focus on hybrids. But, this whole rollback wave and ESG and climate, Europe eliminated its ICE ban, a la California recently. And by the way, Javier Blas was all over it this week. We've set a new global record in gasoline demand in the IEA. Oh, sorry, snuck that.
I read that stat to Holly and she spit taked. It was so good.
And the IEA is projecting an even higher number in 2026. So
when I was raising Energy Fund 8, call it circa 2018. I mean, it was all the rage in the LP community that electric vehicles were just going to blow away the internal combustion engine and nobody would use oil in 10 years, right? And they had a big conference and they asked me to come speak on it. And I got up there and I said, let's read some headlines from the New York Times. And I start reading the electric vehicles are sexy, electric vehicles performance, electric vehicles are this and that and that. And then I just kind of methodically went through, hey, there are 300 million cars in America right now. And we sell about 7 or 8 million cars a year. And just because you sell your car, you trade it in, doesn't mean it leaves the road. It's still there. So if you kind of work through the math, even if electric vehicles take over 50% of the market, so there are 3.5 million of them a year, 10 years from now, there'll be 35 million electric vehicles on the road and 335 million internal combustion engines still on the road because cars today last forever. I mean, whoever gets rid of their car because it doesn't work anymore? You want a new car. So anyway, I go through all that math and I go, plus the electric vehicles are using plastics, which comes from oil. I go, oil demand's still going up, blah, blah, blah. And I get this tepid response, clapping, and I walked off. And then I came back and I said, oh, by the way, those headlines I read you from the New York Times, those were from 1916, 1917, and 1918. Electric vehicles have been around for 100 years, guys. This is nothing new. And I gotta look.
I wonder what the batteries were like back then.
Yeah, my Tesla nameplate was supposedly 250 miles, but on a good day it was 200.
Here's what I think the bigger point that we're missing here on the Ford announcement is that those damn climate people actually reversed climate change. I mean, we don't need electric vehicles anymore. That's what's the amazing piece.
Second show's always different than the first.
I think like this, and I'll move the BP piece up, but like this is a very expensive example of allowing stakeholders stakeholder priorities other than your primary stakeholder, which is your shareholders, influence strategy and capital allocation to a significant degree. I mean, $19.5 billion isn't nothing.
Yeah.
Well, I think about, someone else could probably articulate this better, but if you look at how much money has gone into private equity, the Elliott managements of the world, where a few people have a lot of cash, trillions of dollars, where they can control management teams, boards of these very large companies to impact their decision making, because that's really what has changed. What's changed is you had pension funds and so forth, but now you have all this LP money that they're active. They have a lot of money and they're very controlling. And that's something that we haven't seen in the past. I mean, before Exxon's going to be Exxon. Now you're talking about this fire engine, guys that can maybe impact some Exxon decision making. Now, they've done a great job of saying, this is what we do. We've always done it. We generate returns, et cetera. They have good data, but you have these LPs that are super powerful. I think that's
and I think the same is true on the public side that we saw in the years that were leading to the crescendo here, right, is you had a lot of index funds, passive, who were, the decision makers from a proxy voting standpoint were certainly not the individuals that were invested in these funds, but it was fund managers and CIOs, and which we won't name, but had an agenda that was dominated by all of these social issues.
Yeah, or dominating a position that they can control. Let's just take climate change, for example. If you stand to benefit from it and you can kind of control the narrative and get a position on it, like they're not going to get a huge position in ICE vehicles or in oil and gas because There's so much money all over the world. But if you're like, wait, this is a relatively, I mean, climate change has been around. It used to be called pollution, blah, blah, blah. We've talked about it. But climate change is an issue that a few people could get a massive stake in. So they've put a big investment behind this issue called climate change. Then they can control it. Then they can benefit the most from it because they have so much capital tied up in it. So I think a lot of it is, well, sure, they care about, I don't know if they really care about the social issue. They care about the fact that they're profiting from it. And that's what we have to, that's why we've been diligent in calling those issues out, because, the people on the street just don't have the bandwidth nor the capability to do what we are doing here. So give yourselves a pat on the back. Good job, guys.
The
Sometimes I pat myself on the back twice in a day.
That's right.
Yeah.
The virtue signaling benefit provided ample cover for them to pursue that agenda.
Yeah.
So BP, Murray Auchincloss, who has been combined interim and permanent CEO a little less than 2 years, was announced yesterday is stepping down effective today. He will remain an advisor through, I think, the end of next year. This is, I think, symptomatic. He came in, laid out for their investor day that there was a much more aggressive pivot back to, the core legacy business of oil and gas, and pulling back hard on portfolio allocation to all the renewables. And BP had gone out way over its skis, if you remember, committing hundreds of millions to offshore wind leases in the North Sea, et cetera. And, this has been BP's MO for as long as I've been aware as an adult, is, being a bit more risk-taking on the newer progressive things, this latest round of, renewables push. And we think back to, them deliberately saying we're going to target a pretty significant contraction in our oil production between now and 2030. I do think there's new chairman, last name Manifold, I forget his first name, from outside the industry. And then you've got, the persistence of Elliott, I think. And this to me is, look, it's not happening fast enough. It may be fast for the culture of
BP.
the super major. I guess I can still put them in that category, although they're, again, it always do a double take when I see that ConocoPhillips is much larger than BP. But that's so. You're bringing in Meg O'Neill from Woodside.
Say that again. ConocoPhillips is bigger than BP
Market cap.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's ridiculous.
See, I surprised somebody with that.
He's from Dallas.
Meaningfully,
That's right. That's
meaningfully
right.
bigger.
I think in
And
small
has been
cap.
for a while.
Yeah.
But Meg O'Neill from Woodside, who's an Exxon legacy, will take over in April, and I forget who they appointed as interim. So Murray's gone. We've got 4 months now until the new CEO shows up. I think that tells you a little bit about the tone and the temperature.
Yeah.
In that boardroom. And there's, in the article that we attached, there's a relative performance graph for, all the majors. There's a clear line of separation between Exxon and everyone else. And BP is only better than Total, at current, the index line. And the one dragging along the bottom is Woodside.
I know.
Which,
Oh, wow.
ironically, so.
What do we know about Meg?
I know nothing. Maybe she'll come on. Meg,
I
will
think
you come on BDE,
She has
please?
Exxon DNA, that's what I know, which is probably a good thing for BP.
Yeah.
I mean, the GE model, the Exxon model, you grow from within, you teach people, and then you throw someone that sort of drinks the Kool-Aid into CEO. And it works for a giant company in which you don't want the strategy to change that much. You want to just continue to execute, continue to operate at excellence. But BP is a company that exemplifies if you don't stand for something, you stand for anything. And it's been blowing in the wind, just being whipsawed. And so I find it interesting because I've, of course, hung out with a bunch of these senior executives from oil majors, and they're impressive because they've been able to fight sort of the corporate game. They're very unimpressive because they don't have a lot of their own ideas, and they don't have any real leadership experience to lead a company. They have experience of, I've been an executive and I've been staying in my lane because if I go out of my lane, I get fired and I'm afraid to. So you keep putting, I'm not losers as CEO that have no business being there because they don't know how to lead BP out of it.
Well, and you know what the damnedest thing is? Like every former BP employee I've met or done business with, wildly impressed by. Jane Stricker.
There's great
amazing.
People there. I'm not saying that.
The Treadstone management team was amazing.
I was about to cue that comment from you, and I didn't even have to.
I set you up for it.
The greatest hits. But the Cavallo, the Stallion management team, all ex-BP, and just amazing.
Did they execute ideas way different than BP, or do they execute what they knew?
And that's the whole thing is you look at when it's all together and it's the Borg and stuff, and BP's just a cluster mess. But when you meet these people individually outside of the Borg, do great things. So
I have the same view. And
so it's kind of my point is it's a culture thing. It's not a people thing.
I also have the unhelpful anchor of Exxon DNA bias, but I have the same impression on all the BP people that I've encountered in my career.
So I'm not talking about people. I'm talking about one person,
right?
The CEO, and it's a very different role than another executive VP. That my job is exploration, my job is downstream, my job is,
and clearly with the new chairman, there's a much more blunt and broader perspective that's been brought to bear in making this abrupt decision. It's the second abrupt CEO succession with Looney and when Auchincloss took over, Looney leaves amid scandal, and then now this. I do think it's illuminating. Maybe.
Wait, does Looney know the former head coach of Michigan? I had to get in that somehow.
Wow. It was a little stretch to do it, but I appreciate the effort.
There. I did get there. It was on my mind.
I think it's telling.
Minute 29 and 45 seconds. My boy got it.
If you're going to do this, I think it's telling that, okay, it's December the 18th. You've got your successor coming in April. You're going into year end, but you announce it now, and you've got an interim for that short 3 or 4 months period.
Yeah.
Be interesting to see what the interim does. Is there a clearing, house clearing, or is it literally just keeping the seat warm till Meg shows up?
So to close this round out, given all the structural problems that are in the market, I had Mark Viviano on for a session earlier this week. We're talking about public markets and started off, I knew directionally the number, but where is energy weighting relative to the S&P? It's at 2.8%. And the notion that, look, when fund managers are looking to increase exposure to energy, so if there is this rotation opportunity, they're kind of sticking with the top 5. Both in terms of size, liquidity, and performance.
Or just avoid it.
I mean, why don't we do the grandma test and ask grandma, where do you want your dividends to come from?
Right. So I guess I'd close it out by asking, do they have a snowball's chance in hell in closing this gap?
Well, I find it the huge irony of being a European, and Londoners or Brits, you've exited out of Europe, okay, but the Europe is board led, not CEO led, and American companies are CEO led. I find this super interesting. that BP is kind of acting American, where they keep firing a CEO and no accountability across. I mean, most of these are just like, as CEO, I have very limited powers. I can't do very much. But BP keeps acting like an American company. Is that because of Elliott and its LP base has turned? It's very ironic how BP is once again beyond petroleum. They keep acting so strange. They go all in on climate. They go all in on these CEOs that are terrible. I mean, Meg is walking into a shit show. I bet she's getting paid well, but I mean, maybe someone's telling her you're going to do a great job, but Woodside's not something to brag about. I mean, is this a hire based on we need someone that knows BP culture and can maybe get back to its roots, or what is it?
You got one of two choices. You can go just, in effect, gussy the company up for a sale and go get buried into one of the other super majors, or ConocoPhillips for that matter. You do that. Or if you're going to be serious, the headquarters moves to Houston, Texas.
Damn, dude, don't say it.
And there's
Shell. We talked about Shell.
There's a guy sitting in Santa Fe, New Mexico, Scott Sheffield, that might be available to join the board. A real live oil and gas guy, a lot of expertise there. See a board shake up, see a headquarters move, then we'll know she means business.
Well, the reason I'm in Houston for the month is, I mean, BP has called.
Okay.
But I'm in Dallas. I'm moving to Dallas, so it's going to be, maybe we'll move, with next to the Exxon executives. But Sheffield called me.
Yeah, you're available.
I'm available.
So if BP does make this extreme move, will you commit here to moving back to Houston?
I mean, you send the jet. Private jets change a lot.
Like, dude, who are you even asking? Holly, would you move if Kirk's able
Sorry,
to
Holly.
able to run BP? So,
and I think the answer would be a hell no.
That's probably a hard no, but
all right, let's
take
move
us
to private
Ohio.
land.
Yes. Fire away.
So I was just researching on my phone and I saw this oil price article on a Kimmeridge bid for Ascent.
Yep.
$6 billion. What's that all about?
Right.
Well, embedded in that is, the spark of this was EMG, which is a 30% holder of Ascent, is approved a transfer of its ownership to a new continuation fund. And I've heard and seen bits and pieces of that in private equity land. But Abu Dhabi is suing EMG as a result of they claim self-dealing and all the typical stuff. And so Kimmeridge coming in over the top as an outsider, putting a $6 billion number on the table, and I believe the transfer valuation values the company at like 5.5. I think that's directionally what was in the article. So just curious, Mason Capital is one of the investors in Ascent. So they're jumping on board with Abu Dhabi. I don't think they're party to the plaintiff's side of the suit, but it was just intriguing to me because we haven't seen this in a while, or maybe we haven't seen it in the public domain in a while. Kind of how common is this? And
let me give some color there. And I've got actually a great Chuck Yates Needs a Job podcast with the guys from Stevens, where we talked a lot of continuation vehicles.
We put that up,
and that was maybe a year and a half ago. No, it was in the spring because Warren Stevens had already been named ambassador to England. Let me step back. So basically, what a continuation vehicle is, you have a GP such as EMG, Natural Gas Partners, whoever, and they raise Energy Fund 8, for example. And Energy Fund 8 will own a company like Ascent. And at some point, historically, you invested, you grew the company, then you sold the company. At times, you weren't able to sell companies. And so what happened, and this happened in all of private equity, this isn't just an energy phenomenon, you'd have a company that it's not the ideal time to sell, but the fund was long in the tooth. Maybe it's eight years old, 10 years old, something like that. So you would go out and find new investors, create a new vehicle, and that new vehicle would buy the old investment from Energy Fund 8. In this example, EMG is serving as GP of both of these. And so the way you kept that fair, that the market was kind of like, okay, is the offer was, we'll pay you X for this, or LP, if you don't like that offer, you can just roll as equity into the new vehicle. And so that was always kind of the way it was perceived as fair. What happened over time was LPs got suspicious. And I want to be really clear here. I know nothing about EMG and Ascent in terms of this situation. So I'm talking in general. In fact, I will say this. I've only had nothing but positive experiences with all three Raymond brothers. I'm a big fan. I like all those guys. John was always good to me. Rob was on my advisory board back at Kane. Great dude. I did a deal with Colin on a handshake. We literally bought an asset, and Colin and I just looked at each other and said, dude, this is going to cost too much, too long to do a PSA. Can we shake hands and just, we're not going to screw each other. So I'm a big fan there. I love the folks at Ascent. Serena Buck's one of my favorite people, the head of land there. Anyway, so not having to do with them, but what happened over time was LPs got suspicious. They kept saying, are you truly maximizing the value of my assets? Because you're really just selling to yourself so you can keep management fees going, you know? And at the end of the day, as a GP, if the management fee is 1 or 1.5%, or maybe even 2%, it's pretty easy to talk yourself into, well, it'll be worth 2% more that next year, so I ought to hold it for another year. And so kind of that permanent management fee is why some LPs have pushed back and said, we vote no to every continuation vehicle, because you should be out there maximizing my asset and running a full out auction for it.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, this gives the legacy fund LPs an opportunity. It's an optional liquidity. They can participate in the new fund at that valuation. But, you know, I guess the spark for Abu Dhabi is saying, you know, if I take liquidity here, then I've got, you know, a markdown.
Yeah.
Relative to what I think the value is.
Right.
But the point of the continuation fund is really to create an off ramp for maybe some of those LPs feel like this is long in the tooth. I need liquidity. And you're inherently going to get a discount when there's not a natural outside market transaction.
Yeah. And the LP have gotten kind of jaded and soured on these continuation vehicles of, yeah, but you didn't try to maximize the value for me. You know, so why is it 5.5 versus rolling? It should be 7 versus rolling.
And now you have a higher marker out there in the form of the Kimmeridge bid for $6 billion. And the more I thought about it, the more it makes sense, just given what Kimmeridge's private equity side has been about for a number of years, which is building a gas levered business. You know, they're the ones out there doing the 20-year SPAs for LNG. They've opened an office in the Emirates, Kimmeridge Texas Gas, et cetera, et cetera. So from an asset profile standpoint, Ascent makes sense. And so I think not having a view into how the internal valuation marks period over period look, you do have this $500 million separation between this $5.5 billion implied value on the transfer to $6 billion in a bid, which isn't it's not a real thing yet. It's just a bid, and then you get into perhaps an auction situation. So I just really thinking about maybe talking over this today, just giving people a window into the mechanics that are not always publicly
Yeah.
transparent.
Yeah, I'd definitely go back and listen to the Chuck Yates Needs a Job with Keith Barron's from Stevens, because we went through a lot of this, kind of the history of continuation vehicles.
All right, well, let's hit one real quick. Trump blockaded Venezuela in a True Social post on, I believe it was on Tuesday. Quote unquote, the largest armada in South America's history, like nobody has ever seen, of course, which is always the add-on to any kind of statement. It basically targets U.S. or the tanker fleet that has been sanctioned by the U.S. And Bob McNally was commenting, look, this is on a macro basis, global supply and demand. It's about 300,000 barrels a day. It doesn't move the needle. But from a revenue and income standpoint for Venezuela, it's going to bite. And so there's a whole host of issues as it relates to Venezuela. We had the election previously, and Maduro's digging in his heels. We're taking out drug boats. We got the whole immigration wraparound. But one of the things that Trump did reference was, the oil and land and other assets that were quote unquote stolen from the U.S. And that harkens back all the way to the nationalization waves that took place when Chavez came to power back in, 98, 99. And then prior to that, we had, pretty high profile nationalization in the 70s.
I got kind of two thoughts on this. One, I don't think Trump has done a good job of making the case to the American people. Now, I need to go and watch the speech from last night because I didn't see it, and I haven't really seen highlights, but of making the case of why we're doing all this. So I think it's incumbent, anytime you're going to put the military in harm's way, the American president needs to thoroughly vet the case with the American people. I think that's your obligation as commander in chief. Second thing, though, that I will say, and I hate to be defending Trump, the dude really hates drugs. I mean, we've talked about that on here. I mean, that is a real thing. His brother, his hero, died of alcoholism. He has been anti-drug, and I'm willing to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt that he wants to get rid of the drugs, that's a real thing for him. And so, I mean, I think sending the National Guard in to these places, part of it is I want people to stop dying from fentanyl deaths, Well,
I think also when you travel abroad and you run into embassies and talk to people, that the State Department, their job is to help you as an American be successful outside of the U.S. Now, here in the U.S., it's like, how can I give you special treatment versus someone else? But I actually think we should say, look, when a country does bad to our citizens, we need to make good on that. I'm totally good with him saying, look, you nationalized and screwed a bunch of our companies and people. We're going to take it back. I have no problem with that. I think there's something that we need to be a little bit more nationalist. I mean, Putin's doing it.
I mean, a Roman citizen could walk freely anywhere in the world because the fury of the Roman government, when a citizen was hurt, everyone knew that would be imparted upon them, and they left the Roman citizens alone. I don't know if you can truly operate like that as a superpower these days without having more benevolence and grace, but there was something to that.
We've alluded to it before. I think it still hasn't gotten the airing out and the profile that it deserves. But if you think about what's kind of filling the vacuum in Venezuela, it's China and Russia. And so This is a Western Hemisphere, formerly one of the richest countries in the world, but, rushing into the void and this isolation. So is there an indirect force with these sanctions, with the embargoes, with the drug interdiction that, you're causing more pain for the Venezuelan citizenry? Does this, ultimately result in an organically driven regime change? And I do think that there is like the arm twisting with OPEC. I still believe that happened earlier in the year, right after inauguration, on the investment swing. Is this more drill, baby, drill by proxy, using Venezuela as a lever this time? Because Chevron's the only one of the U.S. multinationals that's in operating. It got its license restored. Trump, that was one of the things that he did. So, and as we know, Venezuela is sitting on the largest reserve in the world of any country. So,
yeah, no,
is that part of it?
good thought.
All right, it is holiday season, so would be remiss if we didn't close out talking about Christmas perspectives. I don't want to get into predictions.
Thank you.
It's coming soon enough on Saturday, so
we'll get there.
No need to predict.
Real quick, I'll go first. In this age of cynicism and all the negativity and all the infighting and disputes, I want to give a shout out to Colonel Harry Shoup. And do you know who Colonel Harry Shoup was?
Was or is?
Was.
Oh, no. Yeah, tell us.
So he was the head of the Continental Air Defense Command back in 1955, which is pre-NORAD. And there was a Sears ad printed in 1955 that said, "Children, call Santa Claus and tell Santa what you want for Christmas." There was a typo in the phone number. So the Continental Air Defense Command the phones started ringing with kids calling, wanting to tell Santa Claus what they wanted for Christmas. And Colonel Shoup could have hung up the phone, done whatever. He instructed his team to tell everybody where Santa's sleigh was. And that is the genesis of NORAD publishing Santa's Sleigh Ride.
What a great story.
So
fantastic.
In this day and age, shout out to Colonel Shoup.
Awesome.
Fantastic. I love the positive note. I'm feeling chipper and cheery. Glad to be here. Good to see you guys.
Texas for Christmas or back up to Nantucket?
Texas, man. This is
tamales.
Leaving Texas, it's fun when it's 100 degrees. Coming back is great.
Spending most of my time outside of Texas over the last year, it is such a wonderful thing to walk into an HEB. Walked in when I got back last Saturday, and the first thing you see outside is the tamales.
So good, dude.
Even though the weather may not put you in the, conventional wisdom Christmas spirit, how can you not like
tamales? I think
that
Christmas
is part of your holiday vibe.
We always had housekeepers that made them for us.
Isn't it amazing how we suspend all sorts of belief in anything because we all buy tamales from out of the back of someone's car by the side of the road? I mean, without even hesitation, no thought on sanitation or whatever. It's just like, heck yeah.
Dude.
Everybody's got a tamale lady that drops them off.
Yes.
You buy them in the back of a car.
And if they are sanitized, they probably don't taste good.
Exactly.
So what's Christmas in Yates world?
So Sunday night will be Robert Earl Keen at which the greatest Christmas song of all time is "Merry Christmas to the Family." I think
absolutely.
So we'll do that. And the way it works in the Yates house is Charlie and Sally Yates have always been, you better be at my house for Thanksgiving and on Christmas. Whatever. And so probably what'll happen is the kids will be with their mom because their mom loves Christmas. So they'll go do that and do it upright. And I will be at Hunan Gardens Chinese restaurant.
What's the order? Day. What's the order at Hunan?
I am a jalapeno shrimp with black bean sauce. Mark's had the chicken wings there. I still think those are the best chicken wings.
I've had the other too.
Yeah, you had
a couple of
times. Dude, the best chicken wings in Richmond for sure.
Technically, it's in Rosenberg. But yes.
So even though you didn't ask, I'll be back out in Arizona for a few days.
I was about to ask you.
I'm my recently turned 21-year-old son, who also had UCL surgery, would be otherwise engaged in intensive strength and conditioning training, but we're going to spend a few nights at a casino. Now that he can.
And if you see Santa, will you tell him to get busy?
Yeah, we have a good time out there. So we kind of take care of two things. My mother-in-law's out there, and then we can do some 21 and up.
Here's
things.
the big question. Where are you this Saturday?
I hadn't found a watch party yet. My usual tailgate group said, with the early time slot, they're not going to tailgate. Now, I could probably find some others.
I bet there's a huge Carlton Woods contingency of Aggies.
Maybe I'll be at Collide watching it on those big screens.
There you go.
Fantastic. Well, good luck to you, Aggies.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely.
I'm going to be here enjoying the weather.
Remind me of the bet payoff.
You have to wear burnt orange, man.
Yeah, since you're hopefully we're going to see you more frequently in the studio. I guess the same could be said.
And I'll be honest, like the color burnt orange is not great. So it sucks for everybody. So you're going to have to wear it now.
I was about to say, as the blue and gray person sitting here, maroon and burnt orange, I got you on that one.
So my wife...
Maybe not on the field.
I acknowledge that.
My wife and my oldest daughter are UT grads, and my middle and youngest daughter are Clemson grads. And I often said I proudly and willingly wear Clemson orange, but I will never wear burnt orange.
Hey, wait a minute. Besides maybe the Aggie band, the Rice Owls have the best fucking band on the planet. The Mob.
The Mob's great.
Nothing better.
Yeah, the Mob. And over many years ago, the tricks that the Mob was pulling on the Aggie band are legendary.
The best.
They're just incredible.
Well, in 1972, and the Reveille had just died, so the Rice Band came out and formed a fire hydrant and started playing "Oh Where Is My Little Dog Gone," and then they fake goose stepped like they were the Nazis. The Corps got so mad they surrounded Rice Stadium and drew their sabers and would not let the Rice Band out of there. And you know what was a little known fact about that halftime show?
You were in it?
No, I was there though. I don't remember it because I was like 4, but Mom and Dad took me to the game. Marvin Zendler was a world-class twirler, and he twirled with the Rice Band.
What?
During that show.
Who else in Houston lore is a world-class twirler? Calvin Murphy.
Yeah.
One more Sabre story.
Yep.
Shit.
Move into the early 80s. I believe it was 1981. I was there at Kyle Field. You should remember this story. So
I remember this.
The SMU cheerleaders went out and did to midfield and did their SMU Diamond M or whatever you call the M. Well, the field itself is a war memorial. And so one of the Ross volunteers, a guy named Greg Hood, who ended up on the Tonight Show talking about it, draws his saber and runs out in a very threatening way. And there's still some famous pictures of that. The other one on the Aggie band being goofed by the mob, and I don't recall exactly when it was. But if you've ever watched the Aggie band, the timing and precision and spacing and distance, that's all absolutely critical to them.
It's amazing.
Not screwing up.
Incredible. Yeah.
Not screwing up. Well, I think there was one time in the middle of the performance where it's like Animal House, they go out and move some of the markers and the whole thing just broke down in the middle of the performance. Can't remember what that was, but yeah, that's
fantastic.
Gotta love the Mob.
Go Rice. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah.
Merry Christmas, boys.
Beat the hell out of Miami.
Good to see you.
All right.